Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. This is another edition of the Weekly Buzz, which is our partnership with the Morning Chalkup. And I have Joe Jenitin Palawa here from MCU. How's it going, Joe?
Hey, Nikki. Good. How are you?
I am doing well. I am cold. It is officially winter here in
Yeah.
New England, and my office is not heating up enough for this call,
Mm,
but that's
mm.
okay. I am grateful that you're joining us. We have a lot to talk about. If this is your first time listening to the Weekly Buzz, first of all, where have you been? But second of all, this is the show that we do on a weekly basis with Morning Chalk Up, where we kind of go over the latest and greatest headlines. And Joe gives us some insight into what's happening in the world of CrossFit competition, CrossFit community, stuff going on in the affiliates. And we've got a little bit of everything on
Yeah.
today's show. So, Joe, why don't you take us through some competition news to kick things off?
Yeah. So we had two competitions this past weekend. You and I have spent some time talking about the Down Under Championship in Wollongong, Australia. Great, great competition. Really strong performances and the individual divisions. Peter Ellis kind of led from wire to wire. Took a strong lead on day one. Carried it through all the way to the end. The other guys who rounded out that podium were Zane, Shellebert-Healy, and Zach Thomas. On the women's side, Maddie Sturt took a strong lead again early on and held on throughout, but there were some battles for the other podium positions, and it was a really
Mm,
strong day too for Annika Greer that moved her up the leaderboard into a podium position. And so we finished off with Maddie Sturt in first place, and then we had Annika Greer and Grace Walton rounding out that podium. Yeah, it was a fun competition. We talked about the teams quite a bit, you and I, as we were discussing all the folks who were going to be making the trip. On the men's side, ultimately it was Team Frog Grips, the homegrown Australian guys who took the men's side. Couple of dogs. If you remember that Ricky Garrard had a team had that he had put together called the Bro Dogs,
mm,
and there was some last minute changes, and so this ended up being Ricky's team. Couple of dogs, second place, and then the Hombres, Noah Olson, Tula Marquinho, and Chandler Smith rounded out in third place. On the women's side, it was the California girls, the Invictus team led by Danny Spiegel, with two Australian teams, Nextletica Gold and the Fit Mamas Club, which was, I believe, headed up by Alethea Boone, Games veteran. So
that's
there's your
awesome. This
podium on that side.
This was cool. I really enjoyed checking out the highlights from this competition. It looked beautiful
Oh my
down
gosh,
there.
yeah.
Oh god. And it was very cool to see a mix of sort of like big name athletes and also some names that I was quite unfamiliar with. And I think competitions like this are where we oftentimes see brand new names kind of make a break for it. Or like you'll see a name or you'll see someone get to, a semifinal or to the CrossFit games and you'll be like, that name. It's
Mhm.
like not super common, but it's not
Sure.
completely unfamiliar, and then you look back at some of the podiums and the
Yep.
rosters of these other competitions, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, like, they've been coming up for a bit." So, very cool to
Yeah.
see. A preview maybe of what is to come in the upcoming season.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I wanna come back to Ricky Garrard here in a second, but WheelWOD was the other event taking place, giving us a
Yes.
little preview into what the WheelWOD CrossFit Games may look like next year. If you remember, this is one of the outside organizations that will be taking on the some of the other divisions, in this case, the adaptive divisions. The This year's iteration took place in Raleigh, North Carolina. There were 28 elite divisions with a few athletes, some with a few athletes, some with many athletes. They had a full live stream throughout the weekend. A full leaderboard is on their site. I would highly encourage you to check it out. We're not going to go through all 28 divisions here. It would take some time, but a lot of great performances to check out there on the WheelWOD website.
Yeah, I loved keeping up with that over the weekend too. It was just it's so insightful, and I love the way that they break things out, and I think we can learn a lot about how to better approach a competition like this with many divisions from the way that WheelWOD has learned over the years to put it on, and I'm just, like, super excited about them heading up. the competition for next year when it's a part of the main season. It feels like the right fit, and I'm excited to see how they pull it off. Also, just like randomly saw on Instagram yesterday, Tom Miazga, longtime WheelWOD
Mhm.
champion and friend of all things broadcast, partnering with Peloton and Logan Aldridge to put
Yeah.
together a
Yeah,
series
yeah,
of classes
yeah.
for them and for the adaptive athletes that are rocking it on Peloton. And I thought that was so badass.
Yeah, Logan's been working with Peloton for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Um
taken a bunch of his running classes. They're
oh,
so
cool.
good. Highly recommend.
One of the things that I really liked about the WheelWOD live stream was it was basically like a handheld cam on floor. And so there were a lot of athletes who were featured and highlighted throughout different workouts. And so you really got a chance to check out some of the performances there. So I thought the live stream was really cool.
Yeah, and hats off to the people who are doing that camera work because that is a hustle in and of itself. Good for them.
Couple of other bits of news here. Dubai has announced that their leaderboard is locked and loaded now. So Dubai is next week. The leaderboard is on their website. Also on the Morning Chalkup site, we've got a what we know about the Dubai Championship fitness challenge with
That's okay, Joe. The name has changed a dozen times over the last few years.
with all the athletes, all the workouts, all the links, everything you need to stay up to date on the Dubai Fitness Challenge in 2023. And Ricky will be there. Ricky Garrard. We've got a story coming out tomorrow on Ricky's remarkable off season. For those paying attention, he is competing in 4 major off-season events. Down Under this past weekend, Rogue earlier in October, Dubai coming up, and then Wadapalooza in January. 4 major competitions over the course of 80 days. So I don't think anyone else of the, elite tier of athletes is taking on the off season in the same way that Ricky did here, or the same way that Ricky is in his comeback
So
from shoulder
curious to
injury.
know, yeah, I'm so curious to know the strategy behind that, and I'd love to talk to his coaches about that because I can see it going in so many different ways. Like, where on the one hand, he's hustling, right? He's trying to collect that dough. Don't
Mhm.
blame him. He's only got one way to really survive and thrive in this industry, and that's to
Mhm.
make money from winning competition. But at the same time, it's like, is there burnout? Or does he know himself best and he performs best in competition? And
There you
so
go.
why not go
There
out
you go.
there and that's the best form of training for him? I don't know. Everyone is different. So I'd
Yeah.
be very curious to see how how his body is feeling and how he is performing after these 4 competitions. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
he's either going to get himself in a really good spot to compete and or he's gonna scare the pants off of everyone else in the entire field. So we'll see.
I know which answer Kotler, his coach Justin Kotler would give there. But so far, 5th place, Rogue as an individual, 2nd place at
Mhm.
Down Under with the team. So 2 more individual outings here in the off season, and make sure you check out that piece where we interview both Ricky and his coach Justin Kotler in the Morning Chalk Up tomorrow morning.
Ooh, okay, we'll see if any of my theories come true
We
when that's
will.
published.
We will. So that's what we got on the competition side of things for today.
Cool, cool, and what about in the community and the affiliates?
Yeah, luckily there's a really slow news, not much going on the affiliate side of things. Of course, I'm kidding. We had a
Yes, of course.
massive announcement last week, and it caused a complete deluge, a flood of opinions and thoughts and articles and Instagram posts and reels. So, let's talk about it. CrossFit announced the first affiliation fee increase in CrossFits, although not in the new owners, but in 11 years under
Yep,
CrossFit, and announced a level 2 requirement for gym owners, of which they said that 50% are level 2 or above currently. So about
already.
50% of owners will have to fulfill this requirement within 12 months. So
Mhm.
the affiliation fee increase for most gyms paying $3,000 will go to $4,500 per year. For those gyms that were grandfathered in under a rate below the $3,000 amount, they will be gradually stepped up, I believe, over 2 years. And then so there will be an increase, but it'll be a lesser increase, although it will go toward hitting that $4,500 mark eventually.
Got it.
And for affiliates in other regions of the world whose economies are weaker comparatively to the United States, they will also have a lesser increase that will be more in line with their local and national economies.
Got it.
So those are the details. There was an affiliate briefing, an affiliate town hall last week. There's another one today. Nicole Carroll, Jay DeCoons, Dave Castro, and Don Fall were on those. They were on the town hall that already took place. I'm not sure if they're all planning on being on the next one, but I would assume so. To talk and answer affiliate owners' questions, although I'm not sure how much of that is happening.
Yeah. A
So
lot.
yeah,
There's a lot to
what are
unpack
your
with all
initial
this.
thoughts there? And then we did get some
Yeah.
affiliate owner thoughts, and we also have an article out today that derives some data from the State of the Industry survey, which we could talk about. That was completed prior to the announcement, though, so it kind of is interesting and a little bit of a weird timing. But yeah, I wanted to
Mm.
know what you were thinking, Nikki.
Yeah, the more that I hear about this, the less I think I have a valid opinion
Hmm.
because I'm not an affiliate owner. To
Mm-hmm.
me, it just feels very, very much like an issue that only affiliate owners can know and understand. And it is so nuanced in that every affiliate has a different margin, has a different amount of money that comes in through its doors.
Yeah.
That price increase means something different to every affiliate owner around the world. And
Mm-hmm.
it means something very different to me as not an affiliate owner. So I sort of have just been doing a lot of listening
Mm-hmm.
and I hear very conflicting arguments that
Yeah.
honestly all seem valid to me.
Mm-hmm.
I hear and understand arguments around inflation and cost increases and whatever. I also hear and understand arguments around why are you raising my affiliate fee but giving nothing back? I also
Mm-hmm.
hear arguments about like that's not how affiliate model works. They don't have to give anything back. I mean, it's just there are so many arguments on every single side of the it's honestly it's not a coin. It's like the outside of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the diameter of the coin in that there are just a bazillion different arguments and they all mean something different and they all feel valid to me. So like I said, I don't really have an opinion. I don't think I can because I don't own an
Mm-hmm.
affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me to say like, well, $1,500 is or isn't a lot of money doesn't mean shit
Mm-hmm.
in the greater scheme of like what kind of impact it's going to have on every individual affiliate
Mm.
community. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's kind of a non-answer. I'm on the fence.
Well, no, I mean, I think what I can say is that that's what we found in talking with affiliate owners
Mm, okay.
across the country. There are mixed opinions. Some are asking the question, what added value is there, and what value is there to the affiliation? And so there are some folks who are asking those kinds of questions. There are others who, are asking the question, why didn't this happen sooner?
Right.
And kind of everything in between. One of the things that I mentioned having some ironic timing is that just prior to this announcement, the state of the industry report was released by Two Brain Business. And this is a survey that they do every year. And this survey reached out to, I believe they had just over 13,000, almost 13,500 respondents. People responded, and half of them are CrossFit gyms.
Thing.
So among those gyms, 89.7% said that they had or that they, quote, "feel confident about the future of the brand." Now, this was released just prior to that announcement.
That's interesting.
So if we look at the last couple of years, there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of changes among the executives at CrossFit HQ, a lot of questions and drama and so forth. So to see that number, 89.7% before this announcement, that's pretty great. Of
Mhm.
course, we don't know how those same respondents would answer that question. How do they feel about the future of CrossFit today, uh,
Right.
given that announcement?
I suppose only time will tell with something like this. We have to kind of let the dust settle in order to understand how many affiliate owners are going to roll with it and say, we have to see if we can still stay successful or become successful or whatever, wherever they're at, given this change, or how many people are going to throw their arms up and
Mhm.
cancel their affiliation and walk away, or how many new people are going to be encouraged to come in and start something new with the
Yeah.
brand, given the direction that things are going.
Yeah.
I mean, there is just no way to know right now, but I know that people have very big feelings about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just here in sort of like a listening and watching phase
Sure.
to see how things shake out.
Yeah, I should say that that 90% approval rating, so to speak, that was not out of the blue. There was a trend over the last couple of years, so the support question is 90% this year supportive, 77 last year, 75% the year before, but it's an upward trend
Hmm.
and a pretty big jump this year. Interestingly, of the other mm, few percent, they were either unsure about the future of CrossFit, apathetic about the future of CrossFit, or quote, hopeful for the return of Greg Glassman.
Huh,
So
okay.
those were that's what made up the rest of the respondents. Interestingly, almost 30%, 28% of the gyms that they surveyed that were not CrossFit gyms, but that had previously been affiliated to CrossFit, said that they felt confident in the brand's future as well. And that
That's
number was that
interesting.
number was up too.
Well, and that's good to see because even gyms who have de-affiliated in the past are
Mhm.
oftentimes still using similar methodologies or
Absolutely.
training camps. So it's good to see that there's something happening there that they believe in enough to continue their businesses in a similar vein, though not
Yeah.
the exact same vein.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And we do want the rising tide effect here when it comes to global fitness. So that's
Mm,
good to see.
yeah. So, there you go. That was what the State of the Industry report said just prior to this announcement.
Dang, we should do an immediate retest of the survey
Right?
just
Yeah,
to
there we
see.
go.
No, let's
Insta poll.
wait. We'll have to wait for probably 6 months or so to see how things shake out and see how the dust settles, I would guess, but it
Yeah.
definitely will be interesting to
Yep.
see what happens in the affiliate community after this news.
I
Joe, thank
agree.
you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, for pulling all of this together. It's it's we're kind of all over the place right now. I feel like there's continuously going to be a lot happening in the competition side of things over the next
Mhm.
2, 3 months-ish. And we need to see how things shake out in the affiliates, especially as we prepare for the open. So I'm sure that you and I will be talking about these topics and many more in weekly buzzes to come.
All right, Nikki, I can't wait.
For sure. For everyone listening, I thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys again next week.